Well, thank you so much for the kind introduction, Jiel. I have to say, DLD creates such inspirational moments, and now it's for me to bring the talk about beauty back to numbers and talk about our 10 AI predictions. But before I talk about AI, I want to leave you with one prediction, just finishing the prior panels. My personal prediction is that Twix will be 10 times as big as that star that Louis declined to work for. So with that, let's kick it off on AI. So AI is overhyped. That was one of the key narratives that I called into question here last year. And in contrast, I presented our 10 views, non-consensus views on AI and how we think AI will really develop. Why do we spend so much time on AI in the Chief Investment Office, you may ask? We think there are few forces that are more powerful than transformational innovation in shaping economies and markets. Think about the Bessemer process. It ushered in the mass production of steel, and it created an industrial sector that was 35% of global GDP by 1950. Or the internet. That's more than a third of the S&P 500 today. Yet, when we look at asset allocation, we still see the traditional categories of asset class, countries, sector size, and style. We think that we need a new category for transformational innovation to capture this structural alpha, including the one from AI. And so I'd like to share with you our 10 long-term views on AI and hope to convince you that the AI opportunity is so vast and pervasive for the next at least decade. So now it's time to take stock. How did our views fare over the last year? Are we doubling down or are we reversing course? AI is overhyped. Many people had that view last year. The New York Times wrote, "Is AI really worth the hype?" And then even Demis Hassabis, the Nobel Prize winner, we had another Nobel Peace Prize winner here, he said that AI may be overhyped in the short term, but only underappreciated in the long term. We actually think that AI is even underappreciated in the short term. And the reason is, it's unprecedented in both scale and speed. AI is indeed the first technology in human history that is self-learning. So current AI models train themselves today to make themselves better. And that makes the rate of change so much faster and so much more unpredictable. So were we right with this prediction? I think one rigorous test is to look at the stock price performance of AI stocks. The market is so efficient, it incorporates future expectation about what's going to happen. And if a stock outperforms, it means that we underestimated its potential. So let's take a look over the last year. AI stocks, so those companies that are either enablers or companies that use AI to transform their business, have outperformed the MSCI All Country World Index by 9% over the last 12 months. Where do we see things going from here? We are doubling down on our view that AI will remain the dividing line between winners and losers. And we will see not only tech companies being divided along those lines, but companies across all sectors. Another narrative last year, or misconception in our view, was that AI capex is too high. These billions of dollars that are being spent, we are going to have an imminent compute glut, like we saw in the internet in the 90s with fiber. We took the other side. We said AI capex is only going to go up. And in fact, we worked backwards. We tried to compute how much demand for AI there is going to be by 2030 in flops and floating point operations per second, and what that means for the compute that we need in order to make that AI computation happen. And we think we need 5 times the amount of the current install base of compute by 2030. Were we right? Directionally, we were right. AI capex has only gone up, 88% from 24 to 25 this year. And even we have upped our numbers now and think by 2027, we will see $725 billion in AI capex globally. Number 3, GPUs, those AI chips, the graphic processing units, will be disrupted by AI. We took the other side. We said that no, GPUs will remain the core of the AI data center. How has that view fared? We're still seeing GPUs as the dominant force in AI chips, 90% market share. And the reason why we think this is continuing to be the case is because they're so well suited for these parallel processing workloads. There was a very similar narrative in 2012 when GPUs were first used for computer vision. Everyone said it's just a matter of time before custom chips are going to come and erode the advantage of GPUs. Now, in 2026, 14 years later, what is the dominant AI chip for computer vision? Still GPUs. So we are doubling down on this view for the next few years, at least until we reach superintelligence. Misconception 4. AI is not worth the investment. All this capex, what is this going to lead to? We took the other side. We said, no, AI is worth the investments. Have we been right? I think the jury is still out on this one. But we have certainly heard more and more data points about companies quoting and quantifying the benefit from AI. Last year, it was all technology companies. Amazon, Microsoft, SAP all quoted hundreds of millions of dollars of efficiency gains from AI. We think this year we'll hear a lot more from other companies. And that has started to happen. JPMorgan quoted $1.5 billion in savings from using AI for fraud detection and risk management. In silico medicine has an AI-developed drug where they went from basically a target to a clinical trial in 18 months at a cost of $150,000. That is about an 80% cost reduction from what we see traditionally. Or even a logistics company like Robinson, they quoted that they're using AI for freight optimization, and they can thus save costs and reduce margins, or lower costs and increase margins, and have done significantly so. So we think we'll hear more and more from other companies to showcase just how important AI is to their business. We have also taken up our numbers for 2030. We now think we will reach probably an application layer revenue of close to $1 trillion by 2030. Number 5, and this was a very controversial one. AI margins are going to come down. With all this capex, that turns into depreciation, so how can margins go up? This is a lost cause. We took the other side and said, no, these companies that are investing in AI, the hyperscalers, the Amazons, the Microsoft, the Googles of this world, they will use AI in order to make their own business more efficient. How did that view fare? Margins, in fact, have gone up by 1%, but they have gone up. So these companies have been drinking their own champagne. They have been the users of their own products. Microsoft cited $500 million in savings in just 2024. And NVIDIA uses 24/7 agents to help design their chips. They're not only selling chips, they're also using their hardware and software in order to make their operations more efficient. And now NVIDIA is the company with the highest revenue per employee in the whole S&P 500. Over $5 million and $2.75 million in profits per employee. Narrative 6, chip companies will remain chip companies. Everybody will be in their own swim lane. We took the opposite view. We said that vertically integrated AI factories are going to emerge. And that companies want to own the whole value chain, from chips to the intelligence layer, the models, the brain, to the applications. There's only one company right now that owns it all, and that is Google. Google has the chips, the TPUs, it has the cloud computing, it has the applications, advertising, and workspace. So how has this view fared? We're seeing more of these boxes being filled in. In fact, NVIDIA launched Nemotron, a large language model that's optimized for reasoning. And the Chinese internet companies, they're investing in chips. And not to forget the hyperscalers that are all doubling down on their own chip efforts. Where are we going from here? We're thinking this matrix will be more and more crowded over time. And that new big AI factories that are vertically integrated are going to emerge, and they're going to create new competitive dynamics. 7, another controversial one. Many people said that AI will help existing software companies. We took the other side. We said existing software companies will struggle because of AI. For the simple reason that AI excels at writing code. Meta announced earlier this year, that they want to have 50% of their code base written by AI by the middle of this year. Many startups now already code 95% of their code with AI. So we'll see code become more and more abundant. And what's abundant is no longer scarce, and what's no longer scarce is no longer valuable. So we think that the existing companies will struggle, and that we'll see new AI-first companies that are developed AI first, that operate AI first, and that we will see the first 1 billion one-person company catering to thousands of clients, employing thousands of AI agents within the next 3 years. Misconception 8, only tech firms will do well with AI. We actually think that every company has the ability to leverage AI for their benefit. You need 2 things: differentiated data and an AI-first mindset. How has that view fared? What we have seen across industry is that those companies which embrace AI have done better in the public markets than those who don't. And again, we think going forward, this will only be more and more pronounced. And we are particularly excited, and we think we'll see more differentiation, in particular on this chart, in financials and in healthcare. All the large big banks have their own large language models to customize services, whether it's in wealth management or in other areas, or use it for risk management. And then in healthcare, what is exciting is NVIDIA and Eli Lilly just announced the first AI pharma factory. It's supposed to go live this month. And they want to use the vast data that Eli Lilly has, from molecule design to also genomics, to come up with new drugs and accelerate that drug discovery timeline. So what's to come? More of this, and in particularly a lot of excitement on our side on what we can do in healthcare. Number 9, open source models will supersede closed source model. That's certainly still a raging debate. We said last year that closed source models will remain the top performer in terms of the leaderboards. How has that view fared? We still see, and maybe even more so, the closed source models at the top of the leaderboard. Anthropic, OpenAI, xAI still dominate the leaderboard. Why is that the case? We think because the capex required to perform at the frontier is so high. And not only the capex, but also the talent costs. I'm sure you've heard about the paychecks that are now being written for the top AI talent in the US. Both OpEx and CapEx are so high that they are barriers to entry for these open source models. So we think this will remain the case for some time. And lastly, this is still also up for debate. Will application layer companies thrive in the age of AI? Are there good investment opportunities? we are a little bit more cautious. We think there is a risk that the application and the intelligence layers can merge. And what we're seeing that these models now, these frontier models, are becoming more and more performant. They can do more and more things. PhD-level reasoning in so many different disciplines. So there is a chance that we just have a few supermodels that can do everything for us. We've certainly seen OpenAI just announced last week ChatGPT Health. Will we all also see ChatGPT Lawyer, Coach? It's very possible that some of these larger, very competent frontier models will help us in all different aspects of life. So this one is still open for debate, but we think it's very important when you look at companies that are in the application layer to consider the risk that they could become a feature in the next version of a frontier model. With that, let me just summarize and say that the key takeaway, it's not the risk information, but the key takeaway is that we think AI is going to be a vast and important opportunity, and I say that in particular here in Munich, in the heart of Europe, and that the biggest risk is missing the boat altogether, whether it's personally, professionally, as a country, and also in your portfolio. Thank you so much.